on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy where we're at. This happens way too often. Cut. Okay, we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. That's like a little too radio DJ.
That's great. I love that.
Not our Starfleet Boy, go for it.
And today we've got Lightning Billy joining us. the great ancestor of Cloud Williams. So we'll have a neat perspective here, and ironically, we have a Noonien singing "Strange New World," so it's very appropriate. I feel like so it's very interesting. We've got our wonderful Dadmiral Ian Trek Cat. How's it going, bro?
Doing well.
I don't know why I called you
it's
bro.
The weekend. It's the weekend. It's the weekend, and you can call me bro anytime you like. I've been called an awful lot worse.
And our Subcommander Tall, has decloaked to join us. We're so happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you. So I guess let's get down to brass tacks. Like, who wants to do the episode summary on this one?
I'm always up for that.
Wow.
I'll try it unless somebody else wants to.
There's something just coming on my phone. I'm really, really sorry. No.
All right, Sub-Commander, take it away. Give us the episode summary. I like this. I appreciate it.
I can't promise it'll be good, but I'll try. So I saw this one on July 4th, I think. TOS Saturday night did it, but so it's still fairly fresh in my head. So our crew is traveling to a planet, maybe Omega 4, Omega something.
Omega 4,
and I forget exactly why they're going there, but they see orbiting around the planet another starship. In fact, it's the Exeter, which was in the quadrant or the region.
We have a captain's. We have the last log entry from the Exeter right here. It's Fathery here to give us.
Get down there.
Following in the great tradition of Trek scenes where characters are watching other characters as if they were on a TV show of themselves.
You're dead men.
Fathery, how's it going? Are you talking to us from your lunch place?
I can't hear y'all.
Oh, you can't hear us? How about he's like, I can't hear you, and we stopped talking, which is funny. Anyways, carry on.
Carry on.
Right there, his headphones working. He's like, oh, I guess they're not.
Yeah. So our principals beam aboard the Exeter, including Lieutenant Galway, who is always, to my mind, the classroom bully of the red shirt division. He just looks so burly. And anyway, so they go on board, and all the crew appear to be missing or dead.
Hello.
Sorry.
No
Please
problem.
continue.
It's riveting. It's riveting. You don't want to miss it. So we're on board the Exeter.
It's another Yang.
What should I say?
Savage.
Oh my! Carry on.
Yeah, we'll get through the teaser here. There's just uniforms on the ground with a strange white crystal. They seem to be full of strange white crystals. So, after some snooping and analysis, Bones determines this is just water, which is all that's left. Or no, this is what's not water. This is all that's left when you take the water out of someone. Erroneously says 96%.
Yeah, it's only like 70% or something. Yeah. Hey,
but
Robbie. Now we're all here. The gang's all here. All right.
McCoy was drunk and he hasn't been in sick bay in a while, so he hasn't read up on human anatomy.
Yes,
he's always reading up on how to kill a Vulcan, 101 ways to kill a Vulcan.
He snorted it to confirm it was in fact just regular crystals.
Walter White showed up and he's like, "I'm sorry, those are mine."
So then they're reviewing the ship's log, and there's a heartfelt message from the ship's doctor there who says, if you've beamed aboard this ship, you better get down to the planet because you're infected. There's some disease that turns you into these little crystals. So they take him at his word and immediately beam down to the planet and let the Enterprise know what's going on. And down on the planet, I think the first thing they see is it's like an execution. They're the Yangs. Yeah. We find out later the Yangs are going to decapitate Cloud William, and they move to interrupt this this scene of violence, and then Starfleet officer Captain Tracy shows up, and they're relieved to see him, but there's something amiss. He's relieved to see them, but it's clear he's been tampering with the society. I may be jumping around here a little bit. So they go back, and he gives them the rundown on what's going on here, what's the setup for this episode, and he says that there's two groups of people: the Yangs, who are the peaceful villagers, and the Combs, who are these wild tribesmen. The Yangs are traditionally what we'd think of as Earth Asian in appearance, and the Combs are Caucasian in appearance. So it's another parallel world. If we didn't have enough of those already in season 2, here's another one. And they do some, supposedly Spock and Galway do some reconnaissance, and they find out that I always get them confused. The Combs are, in fact, really violent. They won't listen to reason, but that Captain Tracy's empty phaser packs were found, so they realize he has been violating
the
prime.
Yangs, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. The Yangs are the Asian guys. The Combs are the
the Combs are
sorry,
the
yes.
Combs are Asian guys.
Yes,
Asiatic,
yes.
as Spock refers to them.
Asiatics, yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, he finds these phaser packs that are empty. So Captain Tracy has been violating the Prime Directive, heaven forbid. So they can't stand for that. So they're going to. Spock tells Kirk, "You need to at least." It doesn't make much sense to arrest him, but you at least got to take away his phaser. At that point, Tracy walks in, and somewhere around that point, boy, I should have watched this episode more recently than this, but he won't let them tell the Enterprise what's going on, and essentially takes Spock and McCoy and Kirk into custody. So then I guess McCoy is working on a cure for this disease.
Yeah, or like some kind of treatment, or
trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, because it's clear that they are diseased, and Tracy thinks maybe he can just deal with Kirk. So Kirk is still his prisoner, but he tries to negotiate with him and say, the salient fact here is the people, because of this, because of what's happened, they now have this incredibly long lifespan. And I think he kind of wants to monetize this or use this or in some form for the Federation. He doesn't want to just let it out there. He wants to turn this to his advantage. So he's not, I don't think, a crazy captain the way like Matt Decker kind of went crazy, although he lost his crew too. I think he's driven more by profit or just bad morals. So anyhow, Kirk of course pretends to go along with this just long enough to get the ropes off his wrists, and then there's a little fight sequence where Tracy proves himself at least the equal of Captain Kirk. I love Captain Tracy in this episode. I mean, this is a dog of an episode in a lot of ways, but I really like Morgan Woodward and Captain Tracy in it. And now Tracy's had enough, so he puts Spock and Kirk in the prison there with two of the wild Yangs who were in there, Cloud William and his lady friend, consort, yeah, well, whoever it is. And somewhere along the way, he kills Lieutenant Galway, but don't worry, Galway will be back in a future episode. Continuing my ramble here, they're in the jail, and the two Yangs are trying to fight Kirk. Spock is in his own cell, and Kirk is getting tired out, and eventually, conversing with Spock, he uses the word freedom, which is one of the Yangs' worship words. So then there's
freedom.
Exactly. There's a halting conversation between Kirk and Cloud William, and maybe Cloud William's going to ally with him. Maybe they're on the same page, he thinks. So they start working on the bars of the jail cell, which conveniently are very old and come apart with not much effort, and so they can get out. And then Cloud William does a double cross and slams Kirk on the back of the head with a bar.
We forgot to mention that earlier Spock neck pinches the
lady. Girl, yeah, right.
And that like freaks Cloud William out, and then Captain Spock's like, "I've tried to teach you, Captain."
Yes, that's a nice exchange. And it's sort of canonically. Sorry, I was going to say it sort of canonically proves that humans can learn the neck pinch. Just maybe Kirk was not good at it, and I know Picard does it later on in TNG. So anyway, Kirk is, I guess nobody's checking on these guys because they're still in the cell. Kirk is unconscious for like 6 hours or something, but nobody checks because I guess they're fighting off the Yang attack, all the Combs and Captain Tracy. So Kirk gets out, he frees Spock. Does he free Spock right away, actually, or no? He's out.
Yeah, he does. He has to climb out the window, and because they see
Climbs
the
out the
keys
window.
just happen to be sitting there. They do that crazy close up on the keys.
Yes, yeah. But the next thing I remember is like, Tracy. Oh yeah, he barges in, and then it's his great scene. You know, we killed thousands, and they still came. You know, he was talking about what he did with, mowing down all the Yangs, but eventually the Yangs overwhelmed.
I wanted to see. I mean, it's probably too bloody for TV, but I want to see what that looked. It's insane, like with how many people they were able to kill with like these wide beam phasers.
Until phasers ran out of power. Like,
I know it's nuts. It sounds like
their Duracells ran out.
It sounds crazy.
I want 10 phasers with 3 Duracells each.
That's.
Oh, we have our energizers. Fine.
That's right.
I love that we're seeing a little bit of Austin. Anyways, carry on.
Well, that's what he tries to negotiate with Kirk, and to get Kirk to call the ship for once he's kind of calmed down and out of being in Van Gelder crazy eye mode and back to being sort of in control Ron Tracy. And but then there's another Kirk, tries to cooperate, but I guess there's some regulation where he can't actually get those phasers in. So he tries to jump Tracy. There's another fight sequence, and which ends with the arrival of the Yangs, who have now captured the entire village, captured Spock, captured them, cut to the inside of the.
That's right, baby, America.
That's right, and here's where the episode gets very on the nose. So they're captured by the Yangs, and Cloud William is basically trying to figure out who's the good guy here out of Captain Kirk and Captain Tracy. And you see Captain Tracy's machinations with telling them Spock is the same as Satan, or he doesn't have a heart, and really great stuff he's coming up with. And Kirk is trying to convince them of his essentially being on their side, but in the end it comes down to a fight where to prove that good will defeat evil. It's a pretty good fight. I think it's staged fairly well for an original series fight. And over the course of the fight, which is tense and tight, Spock uses his sometimes telepathic ability to.
Well, this was I saw on the behind the scenes that originally Spock was supposed to have power over women. Apparently, some sort of
really? Okay,
he could cast spells on women. I mean, he does.
It's completely random.
Maybe
mind control. All of a sudden.
I mean, Spock does cast spells, but it's not just women.
I wonder.
So Starfleet boy living in hope.
Was that from like an early draft though? Because I know, and we'll talk about it, that the script goes way back.
Yeah. This was one of the original.
I'm actually the son of Cloud William's sister, Raindrop Sally.
Raindrop Sally.
And Spock is my father.
But anyway, it works. She brings a communicator and opens it so the Enterprise crew can beam down to. Even as Kirk wins the fight, they can beam down and sort of secure the situation. And then there's that you either love it or you hate it. That scene at the end where Kirk kind of reveals the true meaning of this sacred document and text to Cloud William and company, including a great Canadian memorization of the preamble to the Constitution and having
a Canadian remembrance
and having probably thoroughly confused the natives beyond measure, they leave and figure everything's going to be okay with this planet. So that's it in a nutshell. Sorry, that was terrible.
And a little nod to the once government United States of America, which probably is not around anymore in the future. Like and Kirk just acknowledges his like roots, I guess, with like a last glance at the flag. That was the only moment that really touched me. I don't know. I kind of like that. But yeah, very good summary, very thorough. I loved it. Very cool.
Sorry, that was a little manic, but
No,
anyway. it
was fantastic. I mean, this whole stream's a little manic, so it's fine. Like we've
par for the course.
Poor Earl Grey Trekkie keeps having transporter accidents. And like Father is in a shuttlecraft, which is cool, and so yeah, it's all good. I love it.
The only thing we're not hearing is shield goes up, shield goes down.
Shield-
Go up, shield goes down.
It's a blast shield. It's a blast shield. Couple folks are here. Braxton's here, and he says, "Good afternoon. Greetings, Braxton. Nice to see you." So
Hey,
is
Braxton.
Jace. Hey, Jace. Nice to see you. Blue is here and says, "Fathery has the Star-Lord headphones." Yeah, I think those are the Star-Lord headphones. Yeah. Yeah, Father, concentrate on driving your shuttlecraft unless the
I'm not. Antonia's driving.
Oh,
I'm
good.
not
Okay.
driving.
Okay. Not far from season 3. It's true. We're nearly there. I can't believe it. And then I love that this episode is written by the big guy GR. So yeah, let's get into it. By the way, hello,
Yeah.
Tilly. Formally, welcome back. You're looking mighty nice there. With your glass of wine and a cool new background.
It got painted.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh,
Painted. I was trying to be prepared, and I was going to project some of the images tonight onto the back screen because it is this pure, brilliant white. But I'm having tech issues. So.
Oh, gotcha. That's cool that you have a projector.
Oh.
Our text message audience sent me a picture of. I'm not going to show it because I don't want to give. I don't want that on my stream. But sent me a picture.
Oh my god! What?
the January 6th guy. There's this one guy that is exactly
Like
on the. Speaking of on the nose, yeah, he's. So I'm sorry, text message audience. It is funny, but I'm just not gonna show. Maybe for Starfleet Boy After Dark, we probably already did this.
You don't want to
anyway.
get
Oh no! Now I want to see it.
I'll send it in the private chat. You can
where?
look here. Here, I'll
Okay.
send it to you in the private chat.
Okay.
That's funny. When you see it, you can react to it, but I'm just not gonna put it on the stream. It's totally fine. Is Ian's looking?
Yeah.
Yes, we
I always
have.
thought of him more as that Kalar from The Cage. You know? Really a lot like
That's right.
who Captain Pike has to defeat with a little circle shield. And
So Fathery, we'll start with you. What did you think of this episode?
You know, you mentioned a second ago that we're getting close to season 3. Like watching this episode, you really feel like you're getting close to season 3. You know what I mean? the quality of the show has started to deteriorate at this point. But you know, this is one of the original early scripts that this is like one of the first scripts they had done when they were before the show even went into production. It was one of the ones that they considered shooting for the pilot. It was like one of the few that was ready, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's interesting that they put it off for so long. But yeah, it's more of like that duplicate Earth type stuff that we see in Miri and in Bread and Circuses. I don't know. I think that gets like a little tiring after a while. But initially, that was supposed to be a bigger thing. You know, that's something that you come up with early on to like pitch it to networks. Like, oh yeah, our show wouldn't be that expensive because we could just use Earth to be all these other planets, and you know, just like shoot on like real Earth stuff. So, but yeah, I like Ron Tracy. He's a pretty good antagonist. He's a physical threat. He's scrappy. You know, he can throw down with Kirk. He gave as good as he got, you might say.
Well, he beat Kirk every time.
Yeah, he's cunning. He like on the spot can just come up with like, oh yes, he's the evil one. He's been cast out. You know, he knows how to manipulate these primitive people. So I like him, but just like the overall, it's such like a kind of imperialistic American exceptionalist message that this is actually one of my least. And I love the original series. Y'all know that. This is one of my least favorite episodes. But that's stuff I like.
Nice. What'd you think, Tilly? Let's get the non-American perspective here.
Okay.
let's go to the polite one first. Yeah.
Very American, wasn't it? I'll probably stop there. I was researching it, and Tao, I'm really glad you're on because you are the font of all knowledge when it comes to real facts and figures. And yeah, you are. Come on, let's face it, you are.
Tal's got a lot.
I officially have no life. It's true.
The sub-commander has access to some really good Starfleet records there.
Absolutely, yeah.
So does Father. A lot of these folks, I'm the least. I'm like you, Tilly.
So yeah, there's 2 points. One, Father, you just said about the whole, let's make it like Earth because it's low on budget and we can do that, and it's getting towards the end of season 2. Is he yelling at somebody in the car? I hope he is. Anyway.
Well, I love that we're all told.
But then I thought it was after who had bought them and they had access to a load more stuff. Tao, you said it last time when we were watching.
In a private little
Paramount,
war?
Sorry.
Paramount. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I would have thought they would have had a bit more budget to have done stuff. And the other thing was music. So I always said that I didn't get into Star Trek until later, but that whole fight scene music, how many times do they use that? That's definitely not the first time they've used it.
No, right.
How many times do they use it, and when was that introduced?
Well, that music was season 2. Yeah, season 2 music. Some of it was from Mock Time, some of it was from other episodes, but they only had like in seasons of about 25 to 30 episodes. They only had the budget to score 9 of them. 7 to 9 episodes each season originally, and then they just tracked using bits and pieces for all the rest of the episodes. So usually when you hear an original series episode, you're hearing track music that you've heard before. So but another thing to keep in mind is that as the show went on, its budget was decreased even as the actors' salaries increased, and there was less and less money to use for production. Because it was always running. It rarely, I don't think it finished a season making a profit at all, either for Desilu or for Paramount. So even though they had access to some of Paramount's stuff that they didn't have access before, the shows were getting cheaper and cheaper, and the third season we'll see even more.
Okay.
Did I hear
the music come into it then?
Yeah.
The fight music for me is that really takes me back to my childhood.
That's from Amok Time. That's from season 2.
Yeah.
That to me is classic Star Trek music.
They did insert like what was this for when the flag with that dramatic cut to the credit to commercial when the flag comes in.
Oh, that's the only original music for it. Yeah,
for it. Yeah, so that was Fred Steiner did do that. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid that was like, but now I'm just like, oh man. Who wants to go next? Let's see. I think Earl Grey Trekkie before he drops out again.
Good idea.
Let's go for Earl Grey Trekkie.
He's under fire out there in space.
I was very bored during this episode. I actually messaged Starfleet Boy to say, I think we're on the bad side of TOS now.
Fair.
It was still interesting to watch because the cast were good. I quite liked William Shatner in this episode. I'm kind of struggling to talk about it, to be honest.
That's good enough for us, Earl Grey Trekkie. I do agree that Shatner is great. I mean that he's always I consistently enjoy Shatner as a performer. There's times where every actor doesn't give it their all, but I think Shatner for what he has to work with, he really is able to pull out something really special or amazing. And I just I think that by this point, one of the things, while the show may be getting worse in some respects, I think the character interactions are getting better in a weird way. Like the interactions between Spock and Kirk and McCoy are just some of the things that I really tune in for, even when it's not the best episode. Ruben, Lightning Billy, rather, give us your perspective on this.
When I saw the records of my great uncle's exploits with the James Kirk, man, this episode, I know there's going to be a weird comparison, but this episode reminded me a lot of Threshold from Voyager, the infamous
that is
Salamander
In
episode.
what way?
Because I didn't watch Voyager when it was originally aired, right? I kind of just caught an episode here and there, and like I didn't keep up with it. And that was my party, teen year, or not teen, but early 20s. So I was busier with other things. But when I always heard about Threshold and how bad Threshold was, and then I started watching Threshold one day, and for the first 35 minutes, I was like, "What's wrong with this episode? It's actually pretty interesting. It's kind of like a weird Frankenstein like experiment, and then it keeps going, and the episode completely explodes in glorious salamander beauty, right? And it's just like, what the hell just happened? Why did we get here?" And this episode, I was watching it, and I usually have like a thing that I do when I watch these episodes now for the show, where it's like I try to. As soon as I remember what the whole episode's about, like when I start watching it again, I kind of write down what I felt like that first time, like what I thought from that moment. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to watch the episode. And for like the first 35 minutes, I even wrote down the time tag. It was like 35:13. I was like, this episode's actually pretty interesting. I'm like, it's got really good pacing. It's always it's increasing the escalation of the threat. Like the bad guy's interesting. This Yang calm thing. I remember that I was like, oh shit, but where it goes. Remember where it goes. And then it goes there. And then I'm like, oh, what the hell just happened? Why is this happening right now? And then the episode just kind of falls apart for me. But I mean, from a writing point of view, it does a really good job of keeping things going. There's always a bigger threat, and they solve a problem and then fail. Like I said, Kirk loses every single fight to his captain, and either gets saved by someone else or something gets in the way of him dying or whatever. But like, yeah, it's so sad. It's so sad because it could have been something, but it was that. Because once it goes into that third act, for me, it's just like, what the hell's going on, man? Why, Gene? Why? That was the title of my review in my head. Why, Gene? Why?
He was very insistent on making this episode. He like really pushed for it. The studio had shelved it even like indefinitely, I think is the word I read. That they were like, no, let's just not do this one. And he's like, no, we've got to do it. And so he like got it made, hook or crook. And
it's just too ridiculously on the nose at the in that part.
Well,
because
well,
it's like,
in the context
I get that they grew up like Earth, but they wrote the same exact documents. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
There was a
Twilight Zone.
It is like the Twilight Zone. This is where TOS kind of like, it's interesting. We could talk more about this later, but this is where it is interesting. Like we never see this really again, except for in TNG with the Scottish planet maybe, and that's about the only time on Sub Rosa, right? Like where we get like this, but that has a more valid explanation. It's a colony that was designed to be like Scotland. Like they intentionally like made it that way, and it's not like it just sprouted on its own to become Scotland. Even though I'm sure Scotland would sprout in the universe several times.
I was listening for like, oh, what's the explanation for why the documents are exactly the same? I get that they could have written some sort of like same sort of democracy idea. There
was a cutout. There was a cutout scene where McCoy speculates that during the space race, some astronauts may have gotten lost somehow, and like, but the fact that it looks exactly like the Constitution is a little like, do you carry Constitution documents with you into space and like that? It's like an interesting thing. Ian, what did you think?
Well, the one thing occurred to me. I now know where Donald Trump got his hairstyle. It's Cloud William. It's Cloud William. It's.
My uncle had great follicles. It passes on in generations.
It does. It does get overly American, and that gets a bit too sickly sweet. Sorry, it does. I mean,
and read the room. Read the room.
Yeah. Read the room.
I actually know where. I see where you're going.
Very patriotic. I understand it. They're very patriotic.
Not all of us are patriotic.
No. When it comes to patriotic, Independence Day, all that type of thing. They do that very well. But when you're not American, it becomes very sickly sweet. And we go, yeah,
almost like honey, sickly sweet.
Yeah. We're saying, oh, we're going very American again. But I do like some of the parallels. I enjoyed it. I think Morgan Woodward is brilliant in this as the
Tracy.
captain. Yeah, as Tracy. Really, really good. I think he's the great foil for William Shatner to excel. I think you always find that your hero's only as good as your bad guy, and in this episode, the bad guy is really good.
Yeah, you know who he is? He's Mirror Kirk. I mean, this Tracy is like Mirror Kirk. He's every bit as physically prowess. He's got the cleverness, the strategic thinking, but he's morally bankrupt. He's just.
Where did Tracy go wrong though? Why is he RG?
Well, I think he has his intention is to basically bring immortality back to Earth.
He's like Doherty in
he's just a little bit goes about it in the most absurd.
Yeah. So I think because he doesn't realise. Obviously, I think if it's like McCoy says, if the rest of the crew had stayed down there just a couple of hours, everybody been all right, and probably the chief medical officer of the Exeter would have probably found it out as well. But obviously they didn't. They all died, and then I think he's there going mad, thinking that he's found immortality as such, because when he's explaining that he's the guy's over 400 years old and his dad's over nearly 1,000 years old, he goes on like that. But as I think we said, the first 30 minutes are brilliant, really good. Then it falls in on it. Falls.
I wrote down the last line before the opening credits when they find those piles of meth or whatever's left of the people.
Yeah.
And Kirk ends up saying when what happened, like it's when what, and then he doesn't say happened, but he says when what, and it just has such a great little 5 minute intro, and I'm like, oh wow, this is really interesting. But I kept remembering, but how does it get to that bizarre ending?
You think it's going to be a lot more about the disease, and it doesn't end up being that. I mean, sorry, I don't know if you're finished, Ian. Can I say a couple things about the
go for it.
That I like? I mean, I think this episode it's roundly kind of panned. I mean, a lot of people don't like it. I think they don't like it for the same reason, that they feel like the ending is too sort of jingoistic. But I think there's a lot going on that's good about this episode. I think it's better than people think. I think people get turned off by the end of it, and they overlook a lot of the good stuff that leads up to it. I think, as has been pointed out, the acting of the principals is really good. I think the pacing for the first part of it is pretty good. The direction is interesting. Those fight scenes are interesting. They're just a little more realistic than some of the other fight scenes that have happened. Music, okay, the music is a rehash. But then you get to that final scene, and it's like, so why don't we like this? And I didn't like it as a child myself. I still don't like it much. But how jingoistic is it really? Because, I mean, he sort of set up this society where the Americans, the Yangs, if you will, they were kind of the bad guys. They were the ones that went savage and abandoned civilization, whatever. And the Combs, the Asiatics, were the good guys. So that's sort of, that's not exactly jingoistic there. I mean, he does shine a light on that, Roddenberry, on the document, on the Constitution, as if it's, but Kirk mentions in his speech, well, there's other documents that have said this, maybe not quite this way. There's some are equally good. And I think the message of that preamble, provide for the common defense, secure welfare, whatever, it doesn't have to be the American version, but in general, those ideas are ideas that we think are probably good ideas. It's just so on the nose with the same, how could this society come up with the same language, seeing the flag and those kind of burly playgirl dancers, whoever they got to be the guys in the background, it's just so off-putting that I think you end up viewing everything a lot more negatively than it really is. I don't think it's that. I mean, yes, visiting another parallel world got pretty old, and there's other things about it that aren't great, but I don't think it's bad as an episode. As if you can look past the last scene a little bit, I think it's not a terrible episode.
I think
I do find it quite ironic that the big scenes where they're going on about the Declaration of Independence and all that is actually delivered by a Canadian.
Yeah. And delivered great. I mean,
that's
great
even more American than
he sold it
as American as you get.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to.
We import our patriotism.
My Canadian friends are fond of reminding me that Canada is North America, so it is part of North America.
But the Constitution doesn't apply to them.
No, it doesn't apply to Canada. Real quick,
is Morgan Woodward still alive? Just a quick question.
No, he died recently. He died like within the last 2 years, I think.
Oh wow, I didn't realize.
Because he was in his 90s.
He died in February of 2019.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh wow.
He was young, I think.
He played another volatile human, Dr. Gale. Deborah of the Mind, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
I wrote down that
Kirk
at one point
he was the first mind meld.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
Oh. Okay.
Kirk calls it the Starfleet.
And if you want a deep dive, the guy who's the doctor in this episode on the Exeter, who dies while he's doing his spiel to the computer, also plays the inmate, the first inmate you see in Dagger of the Mind getting the neural neutralizer.
Oh, weird. That's
the crazies are flying around on a starship now.
Exactly.
He was also in a show in one episode called McCoy, which is interesting. Probably a Western. It was a TV series. And then
that's not the real McCoy, though, right? No. Like the Doctor on the Enterprise is the real McCoy.
Real McCoy. What were you gonna say, Ruben? That you wrote down?
Oh, that Kirk at one point calls it the Starfleet.
The Starfleet.
They say that a lot.
I don't know if he was saying like the Star Space Fleet.
They say that.
The Starfleet.
They say that in the motion picture, and they say that in the Wrath of Khan. I just watched both of those in 4K, and they both say that.
Oh, interesting.
The Starfleet. I just found it interesting.
The thing about the I think Gene Roddenberry was onto something cool, but I read something and I kind of agree with this. Like he kind of undermines the message by then glorifying the Yangs and giving them like some kind of noble purpose when in fact they were kind of like the
both
villains.
sides were savages. Yeah.
No, I think that the Asiatics, whatever you want to call them, I hate that they say like yellow in the episode. The yellow people, the whites.
1960s,
a relic of the
past. The 60s, yeah. But regardless, that civilization seemed a little bit more like advanced and like just a little bit more like peaceful, and it would have been more interesting, I think, if they had the Constitution and if they were to kind of say like, oh look, like how different like things could, if you're gonna really turn things around and like try to like make parallels
or maybe
or like things
saying,
like that.
Like, sorry to cut you off, but maybe like if they were both fighting for like kind of like, I don't know, maybe this complicates the episode too much now, but like if there were two sort of captains that went to that planet, and each one had their own goal with this immortality, and they were being dictators leading these two people using the Constitution as their kind of, I mean, if you have to include the Constitution, I would really try to write it.
We got that with the oddly, I mean, it would have been that would again another parallel Earth. We got that with the what's it called?
Right. Bread and Circuses. Or
we got that with Private Little War, where like someone was manipulating people and using Earth Pass.
A proxy.
So it's like, that's why I would just take out the whole Constitution thing and just make it, maybe in McCoy, like there's these two parties that are both at war with each other over some document. Once they decipher the document, Act 3, it's a Constitution-like democracy where they interpret it as, we can teach these people to interpret it a different way, and then they can get along. Instead of it being like directly the fucking Constitution on the same paper.
But you know what that is, Ruben? That's like, I mean, when I said Twilight Zone, I mean literally Twilight Zone. It's like the twist at the end. Oh, they even have the exact same Constitution.
Right.
It's
like Planet X,
it makes no sense. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But it's supposed to. It was supposed to be like a twist impact, and it doesn't work in the episode. But I understand why he did it. Even though it's
Well, other than that, I
silly.
agree too. I think the episode's actually really good, except for the questionable third act. and
Well, what if
result.
at the end, instead of being like, oh yeah, like America is the finest society ever established in the history of mankind, so clearly this is the correct path forward. What if they were like, what if Kirk was like, like the wars on our Earth almost destroyed our planet, so what you need to learn to do is like come together and yangs and comms together.
Yeah.
And I think
That's
that's
what he says.
That would have been a
Must be
better
for the
message.
comms as well, not just
They
for the
play
yangs.
some Beatles
Yeah, I
songs.
think
Everybody
that
starts dancing.
line's the best one. That line's the best
Yeah.
one when he
Yeah.
said it's not just for you, it's for them as well.
He
I
does
wish
think
they
say
made a
that,
bigger
but
deal about that.
Right.
he does say that, but a sad like realization, and I didn't realize it till this rewatch of this episode, is that like that's the last cone holdout. Like that's it.
Right.
The
So they're
cones
wiped
are
out.
they're wiped
Genocide.
out.
Yeah.
It's like complete genocide. The Yangs have completely destroyed
they
the
don't even-
cones. Like
Yeah, so it needs to be like you need to be better than like the like America of old. Like let people
Yeah.
with a different skin color drink out of all the water fountains, and don't
Yeah.
go like spread like all these wars and stuff in other countries. Like do better than the stuff was.
Yeah, and it ends almost as if the cones are actually the Native Americans who were basically.
you
wiped
mean
out.
the Yangs? I know we get it confused.
no,
like
the cone.
there's
No, the
like a
Yanks were
weird,
the
yeah,
one-
well, with the names like Cloud William and stuff like that, it's got a weird amalgamation of like American history and culture.
No, but I do mean
and
the
stuff
cones
like
though, where like their end result is kind of like our colonization.
Oh, like what
of-
happened? Yeah.
Yeah, which is, it's odd. It's such a weird ending.
Something that I think is lost over time is I think there was like this whole thing of democracy versus communism imbued in this as well. And I think that like now we know like those kinds of propagandas were like sadly detrimental, because socialism is not like really a bad thing. I mean, in fact, the Federation is a socialist state, and like, like I get it. Like there's a lot of like hangups. I even have them. I have them like ingrained in me. Father often says you're very patriotic. You're probably more patriotic than me. Like I have these like ingrained kind of like associations with communism, but like as far as like democratic socialism, I think could be a thing that could work, and it could, like something evolved from these two philosophies could actually work.
That's a more nuanced conversation though than what
Yeah.
they were doing.
Doesn't make for a good 42-minute episode.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, man, that was
But what I mean to say is that would have been interesting if the episode had gone towards this thing where like where the Federation clearly, which is evolved from both of those, from all the worlds, from all the different philosophies on Earth. We've found a way to find harmony in the future, right? And so it would have been neat if like that came into play a little bit more, but it was just kind of left as a this versus that type of feel, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, I think it was almost written. You can see the story idea, like the 2-sentence story idea. Like they come across this civilization that's parallel, and then they realize at the very end it's actually just like the communists and the Americans, and it's supposed to be a big reveal, but it's not. Not that.
It's like the Statue of Liberty at the end of Planet of the Apes. It's
yeah,
like,
that's what
it
Ruben
was like
said. Yeah, it's
all the
totally
Earth stuff. Yeah,
and it works in Planet of the Apes. That's an amazing moment. But yeah.
Right.
One thing someone pointed out online when I was talking about this episode is if you think about it, if everyone on this planet is that Wu's father is over 1,000 years old, then this planet's United States and Communist China preceded planet Earth's United States and Communist China, because 1,000 years ago in the Star Trek timeline would be like 1,200 or whatever and on Earth. So Earth is the parallel planet here, really, rather than Omega 4. But I thought that was kind of cool. But
I never caught that.
I was thinking
That's
about
cool.
that because I always explain the parallel Earths as like the preservers were doing
messing
stuff.
around.
Yeah, like they were like taking people from Earth and like trying to like recreate Earth, like create like other versions of Earth. So I guess there was like one world where they like accelerated the history of Earth, and this is the only way I can think of to kind of explain that.
Yeah.
I think
That's
how
rad.
much more interesting the episode would have been if it would have just been them, because McCoy said you just have to wait a little while on the planet before you can go back and you'll be fine. If it's just them having to hold out for a night while trapped on this planet, caught in the war, and just a random civil war between two societies on this planet, and them getting caught back and forth between the societies and kind of learning about each one, somehow making it where they maybe find peace, some sort of peace at the end, and then they go back to the, you have your crazy captain in there too. I don't know. So why Gene? Why Gene? Why?
I think it would have been. I would have liked them explore that disease a little bit more. Where you could have had those crystals be like those little sponge toys you would get, where you take one and pop it in like the bathtub, and then it expands back out to the human being. It's like you're cured. We got it. Yeah, that would have been a nice, nice scene.
Yeah, don't call them bath salts, whatever you do.
The what?
The comms are pretty cool. Like the when Ron Tracy knocks Kirk out, and he tells them, if either of these two speak again, kill him. And the guy just has like the tip of his blade on Kirk's neck. Or like the way that when McCoy is trying to reach for the thing, and then when the guard is sleeping, and then like all of a sudden like his sword like comes up, like I definitely like bought those dudes were like a real threat. All the it's just like Ron Tracy was like a good villain. It occurred to me though, while listening to y'all a few minutes ago, what if to make Ron Tracy like a little bit more like what we believe, like the Federation, like good people in the future. So no, like the original series has tons of like terrible humans in the show, but what if he had like a relative, like a family member who had like some like who was like suffering from like some illness or something, some incurable disease, and that's why he was so gung ho about like trying to find this immortality.
I would have loved that.
That would have
made it.
Yeah.
Isn't
Even
this
if it caused some civil war between these two societies, not having nothing to do with the damn
That sounds like the start of the second Kelvin movie, where the guy gives the coordinates to the Benedict Cumberbatch con or whatever.
Yeah.
Because so he'll get the cure for his kid.
Oh, right on. That's true. Played by Mickey
And then,
Smith.
and then blow everything up. Yeah.
I was thinking, when I was watching this episode, I would be interested in a Star Trek episode that parallels the slave trade. Where an alien species goes to a planet in a ship, and they basically take over the planet, they subjugate it. I suppose we kind of got that with
Voyager, no?
the Cardassians and
The Bajorans.
Kelpians.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say the Voyager
Yeah,
too, where
the
they kidnap people and turn them into workers. That
Yeah,
planet.
there actually was a script called A Story in Black and White that they it was a script. I don't know if it was a script, but it was a script outline that was going to be exactly that, but without prosthetics and things. They were going to visit a planet where the black folk were enslaving the white folk, and it was this commentary, et cetera, but they decided we can't make this really work, and let's do let that be your last battlefield instead. But they've definitely thought about doing it in the original series. They thought about actually, I think, in the beginning of TNG, when they were kind of scrambling just to find any kind of scripts. They even thought, well, should we revisit that one? But they didn't, although they did produce the terrible Code of Honor, which is, there's some similarity there. But at the end of the day, it's I guess, what's the word? Problematic to use kind of current communities or groups as metaphors for alien species sometimes. So better to just put people in funny noses and prosthetics and call it a metaphor.
I have a question for y'all.
Go on in.
Do you think it would be possible for Strange New Worlds to do a good parallel Earth story, or should they just totally retire that idea?
Do it. No, they should totally do it. For my money.
Pulled it off. That would be impressive if they could do it.
I think I'd much prefer see a parallel Earth than another mirror universe story. I think they've done mirror universe to death. Let's see something in a parallel Earth. I think I'd rather see that.
Yeah, they should do it's a parallel New Jersey
I mean, what if
turnpike.
they do
It's
a
taking
parallel-
forever to get this shuttlecraft up.
What about a literal parallel
It's terrible.
Earth? What about a literal parallel Earth where they go to like another timeline? It's Earth, but in another timeline with different
Well, that's like
outcomes.
almost like multiverse type stuff.
Right?
you
No,
know?
like not
Father's
the
saying
mirrorverse,
like
but
literally
another version of the mirror. Another,
like there's just another
Like
Earth.
Miri, sort of.
Yeah, like in the
Yeah, like
same.
Miri or this
Yeah.
episode or like Bread and Circuses.
I
don't know
would
what
be.
you would do, but
I would be very pleased if they addressed it just to kind of give like that TOS, like, I don't know, like give some cred to this. There is an old
Yeah.
theory. I don't hear it much anymore, but when I was a kid, I used to read about it in science, science. Like Omni was one of them, and like you guys remember like those science fiction magazines? Like they would have stories, but they would also have like really good science articles and stuff like that. And so there used to be a theory that if you could travel a long enough distance, you would encounter a parallel world, but it's like insane distances. Like they don't travel that fast. Like you'd have to go. In other words, there's probabilistically there, with the size of the universe, there is another galaxy that could have turned out like almost precisely the same as the Milky Way, and the circumstances could have been almost exactly the same to produce the exact circumstances. So there, in fact, would be another Earth out there somewhere.
Have they done a parallel Earth where, like, let's say how how in the regular timeline, Khan and all that stuff, the super genetic beings, have they done a parallel Earth where it has the same timeline except the Khan of the world took over?
That'd be interesting too. I think there's something in the books, but maybe not. But that'd be a good story to write. I think it'd be interesting. But ultimately, I think it just ends up looking like the mirror universe, and like everyone's in red or black, and like like it just keeps. That's like the only that's the thing. Like it's funny. Like we're gonna get, I think, a little bit of this in Star Trek Picard. It feels like
I was just about to say that. I think that's going to be more Picard. I think Strange New Worlds is going to be more fun, more an episode focus.
I was thinking it could be interesting because
kind of a storyline going through it, but
the Khan world could be in constant strife, except for like the small elites of Khan's people, who kind of have hyper technology even beyond, a little bit beyond Starfleet, but it's small, So it wouldn't be a mirror. It wouldn't be a mirror world. It'd be like a very, like Khan with a small army.
We might
because
actually
the rest of the world is just chaos.
We might actually be finished with these TOS discussions by the time Strange New World airs. If I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When is it?
Yeah,
it's next year, but they've not given a date because I think
it'll be around April or May.
Yeah, Picard's February.
I think it's April. Yeah.
I think
Picard's April.
Yeah.
How many episodes are in the next season?
April, May, or June? 10.
I think it's normally about 10 episodes for Picard.
Yeah.
No, how many episodes are in the next season of
24
TOS?
in season 3.
And we've got 2 episodes left here?
I thought it was about 6 episodes left.
Oh, we have 6 episodes left in season 2?
Hang on, I'm checking.
Let me get real quick.
I'm checking.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Tilly.
Still think they should do a mirror or a parallel Earth where they go to just
there's 3 episodes left of season 2. We've got the Ultimate Computer, Bread and Circuses, and then Assignment Earth.
Hey Siri, what's 28 weeks from now?
It's the 26th of March, 2000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be in the animated series when Strange New Worlds comes out. Probably.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's cool. All right, very cool. Any other thoughts about this? Was a fun discussion. I really like talking about all these things. Any final thoughts about this episode? We'll start with Tilly this time. Tilly's like, don't put me on the spot.
I only watched it today, and I just wasn't blown away by it.
Oh yeah, and go ahead and give your ratings. I give this episode.
I was going to say you asked my rating. Go on. What's your rating first?
I give this episode a 6. I always try to go first so that my friends offline don't accuse me of changing my rating. So yeah, that's why it's a 6. It's a 6 for me. Go on, Tilly.
Yeah, probably 6.5 for me. It was fine. I actually preferred Private Little War a couple of weeks ago to this one. It had a bit more oomph in it, and yeah, I'm not going to compare it to Threshold, Ruben, because there was no salamanders. But I liked it up to a point, like you say, and then it was like, oh, right, fine. So yeah, not the best one.
America, fuck yeah! That's my one.
You did it. You did it. Good job.
Yay!
Saved it to the end.
You were so good. I forgot. Like I totally completely forgot. Like I usually am like on edge, like, oh, what's Ruben gonna do? And I wasn't like that at all. It was like really cool.
Actually, if you notice, the two people that normally swear have a bar. Ruben just doing that. We haven't sworn today.
Yeah, that's
Ruben
really
and myself,
cool.
we haven't sworn
It's
today.
very interesting. It's very
Good,
interesting
we've
that
been
it came out that way.
Maybe I've got to get one swear word in.
I
before
saved
we
it to
finish.
the end. I saved my one to the end.
Earl Grey Trekkie, what do you give this episode?
I think I'll give it a 5. I thought the allegory could have been a bit less obvious. Although I must say I am quite patriotic myself. But I agree with everyone here. It was okay up to a point. I found it interesting, but it just kind of fell a bit flat for me.
Excellent. Fathery.
Only other thing I have to say is that TOS had the best episode titles, and the Omega Glory just sounds like a really cool episode.
It's a really good. It's
It's not like a
title,
boring.
actually,
It's not like
true.
a boring like TNG or Voyager episode title.
Wow.
It just sounds like
You don't think
Sleep- like-
you don't think
The deal.
1011001101
It's actually
is an
okay for
exciting
what it is.
title.
no, but
All the mathematicians were going, look at MacArthur, going, oh, yeah.
Kudos to Discovery. I
Code
think
of Honor
Discovery.
is an epic title and episode.
for my
Kudos to
for my,
Discovery. I think Discovery has some pretty cool.
in Deep
TOS
Space Nine,
type
after
ones,
the
yeah.
first few seasons, Deep Space Nine has some good ones, like
Yeah,
like
Pale
Tears of the
Moonlight,
Prophets,
Tears of the
and
Prophets,
El
yeah.
Moonlight, and stuff like that. But in Discovery, I like the Butcher's Knife cares not for the lamb's cry.
That's a cool
Wait,
TOS kind of
Yeah.
vibe, I think.
Yeah, I know
But,
some people have tried to go back and like give TOS episodes names, rename the TOS episodes after what they would be in like TNG or something. So City on the Edge of Forever just becomes The Truck or something like that.
The Pegasus.
So what's this one become? The Crystalline Death?
Yeah.
Meth death.
This is Breaking Bad.
Dehydrated.
This one
Breaking-
was called something like Constitution.
Yeah, flag. Unexpected flag.
Unexpected flag.
And the episode ended, like, that was quite an unexpected flag.
But with my rating, I would give this episode, I guess, 4 spent phasers out of thousands of dead Yangs.
Oh my God. Wow. That's quite a rating. Ruben, what? Oh, wow, Ruben's.
That was good. I like that one. My final thoughts. Like I said, I loved it to a point, and then it just got weird. I wish it didn't get weird, but it does. So I'm gonna give it. I actually wrote out my score. It's epic. I'm gonna give it a wet hip heel play of the United States in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure democratically provide common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessing and liberty to
Now you sound like Nomad. You don't even sound like, I don't know what.
and our prosperity to ordain and establish creator this
How many
constitution.
E-Planistas do you give this group?
I don't know. Yeah, I like Followy's score. I give it 4 spent phaser packs or whatever Followy said because I love it.
That's funny. Wow, Ian. Oh,
I killed Admiral.
I'm sorry, but how the fuck do you follow that?
pulled up the preamble and everything. I had it ready.
By the way, just a little thing.
Me.
Just a little thing. I don't. We don't have any kiddos on this, but I know. I know we were required to memorize the whole first couple of paragraphs or whatever of the Constitution when we were kids, but I don't think that's something that anyone does anymore. Like, I feel like, but I actually read the whole Constitution in elementary school, and I didn't understand like most of it at the time. But I should go back and revisit it as an adult.
Pretty short, actually. Yeah.
So, Dadmiral, what's your rating on this one?
I'm actually going to give it more of a 6 because I think the first 30 minutes of it is a good episode. 35 minutes. It's just the last 10 minutes or so that really lets it down. So for that bit, I'm going to give it a 6.5. I'm going to give it the highest rating.
Nice.
So far. But it is purely from that because it leads up to such a good episode and then just falls flat on its face a certain degree. Yeah, I can't really say too much. Well, that's not already been said already. So that's what it is for me.
Good. Sub-Commander, what do you give this episode?
Well, it's like when I was young and first watching it, I would have said like a 4 or 5. But the more I watch it now, the more I think about it, the more I just like it. Whether I think it's a good episode, I don't know, but I always enjoy watching it. So I'll go with I'll say a 7. I think the last scene is saved in part just by Shatner's final speech, which and I've said this online before. He had every reason to phone that speech in. It was the end of the season. They were all tired and worn out. They did not know at that point if there would be a third season. Who knows what how much they wanted to invest in the show, but he really nailed that performance and delivered it. Still always enjoy that speech. So yeah, I'll go with the 7. And my last thing I'll say is I want them to do an episode of some show, Strange New Worlds or whatever, where they find a parallel Earth that's in an extremely boring state of history where like it's 1994 Delaware and we go there and like, Spock, what's going on? This is the Applebee's in Trenton or wherever, or Wilmington. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the whole planet is like that. But
you just sit around and watch American football all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't understand.
Guys, you can catch Sub-Commander Tall on Twitter. Very enjoyable to follow you and catch your tweets. Also, check out the Lieutenant Leslie account, which is very funny and also sometimes very insightful and fun as well.
Thank you.
He was actually in this episode as well.
Yeah, Leslie was
in this episode as well.
Leslie was at the very
yeah.
end. Yeah, he was at the very end. It's true. You can catch Tilly. You've got your @ this time on the screen. That's cool. I'm gonna put you full screen for a second so everyone can see it. So you can check out Tilly at
Drinking.
you can check out Tilly drinking. Oh, and I get to see the room now. Very cool. Oh, very cool.
I'm very happy it's done. Just
So-
need some art for the back walls.
So
If anyone's got any
Tilly-
ideas for some decent art, let me know.
What's that? What was that, Tilly?
Oh, sorry, I just heard Ruben say something about the Matrix.
Oh, she looks like she's like in the Matrix, she's like the architect or
In
something.
the white room.
Yeah.
You are the Oh, you could be the architect. But Tilly, what were you saying? If anyone something?
Art. It was to do with art.
Oh
If anybody's
yeah.
saying
Ideas. I need some pops of color on the back. So I need some art.
I think you should do an L Cars display back there, or like no, I'm just kidding. It's like maybe too much. Like a fake L Cars.
Do a big ass painting, like if it's the view screen and cons on the view screen.
Oh, that's fun too.
That would be good. That'd be good. Just one thing. So I'm on Twitter, obviously, and I'm also I joined Starfleet, the SFI.org, which is the charitable not-for-profit organisation. If anyone's heard of that. So,
No, that's cool.
Yeah, so this is this worldwide kind of. Some of you might be members. So I think it's been an operation for about 40 years or so, and it's all this kind of make friends, have fun, give back to communities, that kind of thing. And it's all about getting together, getting to know each other, and then you have these kind of regions. The UK is something like Region 20, Region 1 is USA, and that's where it started. I think the Admiral's based in Kentucky or something like that, but I will be taking over their Twitter account. and we'll be doing lots of really cool things. But the guys I met last week were a phenomenal bunch. They're going to be at DST. They're going to be doing lots of events, sort of watch parties, stuff like that. So I will post that soon on my Twitter as to who to follow. But yeah, some good
What's
things.
What's the handle for the account? Or you haven't?
The Twitter is Concord USS.
Okay, cool.
I was on
Concord with an E.
on a stream with one of our community or their kind of region leaders once, and he was telling me all about it. It sounded quite interesting. They get together at cons, and they presented Armin Shimmerman some kind of award.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do loads of awards and loads of kind of people that give back. There's real engineers that join the engineering corps, so they can sort of fix problems. And it's fascinating. I'm only literally scratching the surface at the moment, but
That's
it
cool.
seems like a fun bunch.
I was looking for somewhere to give my community service hours, so I might check this. I will check this out, and hopefully I can contribute in some way. That's very cool.
Thinking about a guy who joins the engineers, and he's like, oh, so where'd you study engineering? He's like, Starfleet.
What have you got going on, Ruben? Tell us where we can find you.
My Robert Meyer Burnett interview went up this past week on popaxiom.com. I got an interview coming to rumor.com next soon. More interviews. I interviewed the composers of a TV show called Goliath. Interviewed the sound engineer who worked on a lot of movies, from like Blade to Game of Thrones to all sorts of stuff. He just did a new show, which I'm fascinated to see, called Only Murders in This Building. It stars Martin Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez, and it's like a murder whodunit mystery in an apartment building. So I talked to him about the sound design for that, and that will be coming soon.
Very cool. And you can check Ruben out on his Lightning Billy fan account, where he
we are the people,
where he does
freedom.
Ian, Trek Cat's starting to do some cool stuff.
Yeah. Finally starting to get back into the builds.
How Trek Cat got his mojo back.
yeah. So I'm actually going to be posting a video very soon on my channel.
Excellent.
It's been a long time coming, but with the help of some online friends and everything, and talking, that it's got me back. And it's a totally different style of filming. Whereas before it was stop motion, this is going to be time lapse. For me, it's easier. It's a little bit more organic. I've spoken to the designer of a lot of the builds I'm doing at the moment, which is really good because they're all less than 100 pieces. So they're very small builds. For example, if you just blow it up.
Oh yeah,
it's there. You've got this one here, which is the Rio Grande.
Yes. Nice.
So we've got the Rio Grande. I think last week I showed the Cerritos. We've now got the Delta Flyer, and this is going to be the video that I'm going to be doing, is the Delta Flyer. And I think up here we've got obviously the Enterprise B. So nice. I was speaking to the designer, and he's just brought out some other designs. So I've just done that, and these are all non-Starfleet. So you've got the Romulan bird of prey, you've got the Klingon bird of prey, you've got the D7 Katinga and the Romulan Deredex. So those are ones that are all sort of be coming in the future. So I will be doing, hopefully this weekend. I just need a little bit of collaboration for the script for the video. But it's looks like it's all starting to come together again, and I will be posting some videos, the Lego bits. As I said, if you look on my Twitter and on my Instagram, I'm putting bits here and there with videos just as a little bit of a teaser. And so yeah, the builds themselves are really, really quick, and that's what I like about them. And this guy's done his website, if you want to go there, is mini Trek Mocs. So Mocs is MOCS, so it's all one word. If you have a look, he does them in batches for about $8-9, and you can get about 4-5 designs. There are bigger ones. Some of the builds, as I said, some other builds that I'm going to be doing is the Discovery A, Space Dock, Deep Space Nine. There's going to be a few that are coming out now. So he's done a whole wide range. I'll be supporting him as much as I can. So yeah, so lots of videos going to be coming up pretty soon.
Very cool. And our audience is excited. Blue says, "So excited you're back at it." TCC.
Thanks, Blue.
TCC. C.
Yeah, three C's. TC cubed. There you go. TC cubed. How's that one? TC cubed.
And also cool from Orville Nation and interesting as well. So yes, check out that. We got, I think Fathery's on mute, so I'll promote his stuff, which is you can go check out Text Trek on YouTube, also on podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts. This week, we did a really fun kind of live discussion right after Star Trek Day. So if you don't have time to catch up on all the Star Trek Day panels, I highly recommend you, if you do also have time, you should also check out Text Trek. But if you don't have time, you can go and check out that recap. It was very thorough and very fun. And we did a little speculating. We did a lot of discussion, and I loved it. We were all up late. We waited until after, I think it ended at 11 or something like that, and we went on like pretty much right after. That was
really helpful for me because I couldn't be bothered going through every single panel, and I just really enjoyed watching that.
Excellent. Yes, it was a lot of fun. And then you can also check out every Friday whatever the newest Trek is. Text Trek does a deep and fun dive on it, and we just did the latest Star Trek Lower Decks episode there, which is an embarrassment of duplers. And we had an embarrassment of duplers when Robbie was duplicating earlier in the stream. That was fun. I thought that was fun. Someone mentioned in the comments that was really hilarious. And then Robbie, go ahead and promote Earl Grey Trekking, and we're going on next actually to talk about Doctor Who.
Yeah, we'll be discussing Human Nature and Family of Blood, the Doctor Who story that was adapted from a really good Doctor Who novel by the same name, except it stars the Seventh Doctor, and there are some changes. And it's written by Paul Cornell, who's written some of the best Doctor Who episodes of the new era.
Yep. And then tomorrow, Sunday, we're going to do a quick kind of recap of Lower Decks as well. And then also at 3 p.m., right? We're still on for 3 p.m.?
3 p.m.
We're doing the Amazing Spider-Man 2 watch-along with Fathery, so that'll be a lot of fun. Why are you giggling?
Because it's a bad film.
It is. It's bad, but it's great. It's fun. It is fun to watch it. I'm looking forward to that commentary, so check that out. You guys, thank you for joining me today, as always, for giving your time. It's so appreciated, and I just have so much fun. It's like every week this is like the highlight of my week, and this was a very fun discussion. Maybe not the best episode, but one of the best discussions. I thought it was great. Like, so Commander Tall's like William Shatner trying to do the live long and prosper.
Yeah.
I love when he tries to do it and he's just like twisting his hand and stuff like that. It's like
is there any way we can go out to Lightning Billy's scoring again, please?
Oh my goodness.
So check us out. Yes, and I'm gonna go out. Actually, I'm gonna read the speech by Captain Kirk. Feel free to hop in. It's like, among my people we carry many such words as this from many lands, many worlds. Many are equally good and are as well respected. Wherever we have gone, no words have said this thing of importance in quite this way. Look at these 3 words, written larger than the rest, with a special pride never written before or since. Tall words, proudly saying, "We, the people."
I always keep my American knife nearby. No better way to stab somebody than to stab them.
Father's like, that's not how we're going out. Anyways, that was it. I just wanted to do it. I do a terrible William Shatner impression, but I wanted to try. Live long and prosper.